This is Preeti Natarajan from InEye Technologies. Today we have Elisabetta Marchi from Tuscany, Italy, joining us. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's a great pleasure. Why don't you tell us about your travel profession in Italy?
Actually, I was studying foreign languages. So since I was 14, so I've always been used to an international background. And the place where I live, Florence, has been like a cosmopolitan place since the 18th century. It is considered one of the major art capitals in Italy. And, travelers kept flocking down to Italy because for North Europeans, it was, especially aristocrats, it was kind of considered there as part of their education. And then when I graduated, as I'm still fluent in German, I wanted to find a job in tourism. And that's more or less what I always worked. And then at some point in 2002, I heard about, competition to become a professional tour guide. And I said, well, if I can work hard for other people, I guess I can do it for myself. And that's how it started. And I've been giving tours for the last 17, almost 18 years this year.
Wow.
I had, people from all over the world, all kinds. And it's always very exciting. It's never boring because when you love your job, I think it's like being in love with someone for your entire life. It's always the same, but it is different because every day is a different adventure. And that's what really makes me so happy about it.
That's really very well put. And I can definitely see that feel coming from you about how much you love your job in just the way you have described things. That's awesome. So I know we are all in an unfortunate situation right now. And I have seen news from Italy on, it was really difficult time. Are you now across the peak? How are things there? What did you all do?
Well, we're hopefully across the peak, because the whole of Italy has been under lockdown since March 10th. So it's already 41 days now. And the government hopefully will confirm that the end of the lockdown will be the first week in May. I guess they were also taking the chance not just to flatten the curve, but we have a big national holiday coming over, May 1st. For the moment, we're seeing a decrease of people hospitalized, but the number of victims was still today around 400. I think the limit we hit at the end of March was like over 900, almost 1,000 people a day. And most of them concentrated in the northern part of Italy, so all around Milan, which is one of the most densely populated areas. Luckily, we're 3 hours away from that area over here, and the number of cases has been sensibly inferior compared to northern Italy, over the place where I am right now.
This makes sense. I'm glad that it is hopefully continues on the declining trend, and we are all keeping our fingers crossed on that. But how has it impacted? I know the whole world has been impacted, but what did it mean for you in terms of, I'm sure all the the tours requests must have gone down, or how did you handle that situation?
It's honestly, I have to say I was lucky enough to have my last tours right at the beginning of March. So even if it's been pretty quiet, sometimes I work with universities, and they still had students who were all obliged to leave at some point. Just to give you an idea, we have nearly 3,700 students attending US universities every year, and probably those numbers are even higher. Wow. We have multiple campuses, and since March 5th, I've only received cancellations. I still have some reservations in place, but they're for the last part of this year. Being self-employed, you can imagine that, from being one of the busiest years ever in 2019, I'm down to zero.
Oh my.
And even if the government is, giving out some contributions, but it's really a very small amount of money that will not really make a huge impact. What I've been trying to do this last 2 months was, getting informed, attending webinars. I'm now trying to get more skilled on digital marketing, which is something, and then trying to face the next challenge, which will be how the market will be different, because it will certainly be very different. And from my personal point of view, I've dealt mostly with overseas clients, like 90%. So it will take some time before the situation is back to normal, which will never be, I guess, in a short term like it used to be last year.
Interesting. So that's yes, I can understand. I mean, it's hit everyone, and it particularly hit the travel industry really hard. But I'm hoping maybe as things are declining, I mean, people start feeling better about the situation and things start opening up sooner. We'll have to wait and see. I'm still hopeful.
I think you have to keep a positive attitude. Whenever there is a crisis, I know this is unprecedented. There is always an opportunity to learn something, and at some point things will start moving again. And I guess also I will focus for the first moment on domestic markets, which I was able to abandon like a few years ago because I focus more on private tours, whereas Italians tend to travel more as a group. It will be a little bit complicated to organize at the beginning, because I don't think that touring with 30 people or 25 people will make sense, so much sense in terms of safety, considering the numbers we've had so far. So I think when we come close to the restart, we need to, to see if we can sharp some of the details.
That makes sense. So I think you touched on some very interesting points here. I think in my consumer behavior would change. This would be changed permanently because of the COVID-19. Even as things bounce back up, I think they may be looking at things differently altogether. That brings me to the question that I am interested in, because at InEye we are a retail company. So in your experience till now, what kind of retail products do you believe your clients or customers are usually interested in, or what do you recommend that is previous to COVID-19? But post COVID-19, how do you think it would change? What do you think they would be now looking for different types of products, or how would their behavior change?
Well, certainly, I think the use of headsets will be mandatory for sure. Even if, for smaller groups, but, as we have to respect a certain distance, and there is always a little bit of noise in the background, because, some of the places in Italy were used to have over tourism. I mean, I'm talking about places like Venice or Florence itself on some of the days when we have, cruise ship tours, and that's another interesting chapter to analyze. It was almost difficult to be able to speak and hear and listen for the client with a normal voice. Well, I'm always being reprimanded in museums because I have a very strong voice. I don't know if it's related to the fact that I was singing as a hobby as a teenager, but and then I think they would love to have products, for hygiene.
What else are you doing? What other suggestions and tips do you have for travelers like me or all across the world? I mean, any other direction that you're taking? I mean, I've heard a lot about virtual tours.
Yeah, I'm actually on the project, on a project with a virtual tour of 90 minutes, which I think would be not just to be offered now, but consistently offered, because, you know, more and more, if we have to respect the social distance, maybe you can have a virtual tour before you even travel. Or before you even travel. Sometimes people, especially if they're traveling independently without a travel agent, and this seems to be happening more and more with online bookings, well, people would like to know what they're about, to even to be able to recognize the sites themselves when they're on the spot, and not being obliged, you know, to go with a tour guide at a specific time, a specific procedure. And also, and that's something I had put in place already since 2015, but it seemed to be working very, very well more in 2018 and 2019, audio tours. So through a South African company that was putting together audio tours across the world. So they started this project a few years ago, and so people can buy with an app and download a 50-minute tour of Florence, where they will be able to hear my voice in English. And
fantastic. Definitely going to get some links from you and put it down on after this interview. But thank you so much. It was really wonderful.
Thank you, Preeti, and it was a pleasure to be able to have this opportunity. Grazie mille.